Not sure where I got cut off there, but I was just saying that IRV, these kinds of things is like they've been mathematically studied, and if you have a 51% rule like we do, that's why you have this division, and that's why small little splinter groups get to be the swing, and you can make some really strange bedfellows and stuff. And basically, to have a system like we have is like an evolutionary force that breeds equally sized groups that think they hate each other. So yeah, so IRV is the solution. That we talked about that. We talked about a proportional representation. I think it's good. I think if it's a little bit better than the American system and a little bit worse, but worse in a sense that I wouldn't want to go to that. It's a wrong path. It's like it's a little bit better. You have room for third parties, and yet I don't like the idea of voting into a party and then the party decides who the executive is. I like what is mostly really an American tradition at this point of electing the executive. I'd actually like to take that further and elect some of the cabinet, at least some of the cabinet. We talked about marijuana legalization, Prop 19, some issues we have here in Hawaii with a pop ministry. There's a guy, Roger Christie, that's in jail. His trial is coming up. Yeah, and there were, probably another half dozen, notable topics, and all the subtopics that come from that. I thought it was really, it's what I want that kind of experience to be like. We talked about Warren Buffett. I think Left to Center used him as a negative example, and I called him on it. We talked about class warfare. Came up in my video to John Paul Dorn. Anybody that just saw that, we talked about class warfare. My rejection of that. I'm like the closest I am to accepting class warfare is I do believe there's a distinction of worker and non-worker. You know, of a CEO that's actually is working really hard is a worker, and they should be compensated not at 500 or 600 times what the average employee in their company makes. No, but if a CEO is going to be working the way CEOs do tend to work lots of hours and stuff, then hey, of course they're going to make some more money. I want that. We're all these other people are relying on them. So I believe it's worker versus non-worker. I still don't believe in demonizing the non-worker. You don't demonize someone because they're off of a trust fund. That's also a beautiful thing in the sense that some conscientious people that were in that position are in a position to make good changes in the world. So I don't even fully support, that if it's going to go into demonization. But there is a real distinction there. But this class distinction, and I won't go into the detail of that because I just did in my video to John Paul Dorn. But, one of the reasons to summarize this, I think, is, in case we want to continue any of these. And the other thing is for those of you who couldn't come, and maybe I will give a 24-hour notice or warning that I'm thinking about it. Probably if I'll do it, I'll be like, hey, I might do a room tomorrow, or I don't know how to do it. I want to make it easy. I know other people have to know what's going on, and it's maybe an area I can't just improv and do it if I feel like it or not. And I'm willing to make a plan for it. But yeah, I mean, for those of you that didn't make it, I would like to say, hey, I think you missed out on a good conversation. Somebody could have dropped in there for an hour or two. And I certainly don't expect people to stay for the long haul necessarily. I mean, it's a benefit, whatever privilege there is to being able to have control of the room, decide, what the rules are, who gets kicked, who doesn't. Though I share the mod privileges, so other people are deciding that as well. It's your job to set the tone. It's a responsibility. It's a privilege. And what you get for coming to the room is that you can just come and hang out in an hour, and if you have to leave for 2 hours, no big deal. So yeah, it was a good thing. I will probably do it again. All right, cheers.